Thanks for joining me on Life and Surround. Today, I'm asking you to sign a petition to help free Julian Assange. And I'm asking you to do that because I care very passionately and deeply about this topic. And my awareness of how critical things are with the case of Mr. Assange was raised recently by Roger Waters as I attended two of his concerts here in California, United States. So I think it's fair game for this channel. I am going to be reviewing that show, and part of that show was displayed or presented in Atmos or a similar immersive technology. So again, I believe a review of Roger Waters' show is fair game for this channel. And I really ask you to get involved with the Free Assange movement and to support this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell for this channel, comment below, share this video. All of these things help get this video to more people, and your support of this video and of Roger Waters and Julian Assange are all greatly appreciated. Occasionally, I take risks on this channel by sharing brief personal views, although I believe in keeping this channel mainly about music and our shared enjoyment of it. I don't see this as a political issue because, in my view, no matter where you are politically, apolitical or left, right, center, or any other, we should all care about the freedom of the press, and that is my main concern with what's happening to Julian Assange. He has been punished for publishing information that I believe the public has a right to know. And it's very, very dangerous when a government takes exception to published news and punishes a journalist for that. Everybody who is in journalism should be terrified about what is happening to Julian Assange, and instead, I just don't really see a whole lot mentioned about it, at least in his support from mass media, particularly mass American media. So I get a lot of my news from independent journalists, and I really appreciate them, and I appreciate anybody who has used their platform to get the message out. Freedom of the press is in danger. So I'm asking you to sign the petition. I will link it below, and please look for other ways to get involved. So I recently went to two Roger Waters shows, one in Sacramento, California, and a few days later, one in San Francisco, California. I have never been to a show that was so thought-provoking in my life. I am still discussing that show, even though it's been a couple of months, and at least for several days, I would say more than a week, I was very frequently caught up in conversation with friends and family and acquaintances about the show. And, I went to each of those shows with several different friends, and though we all had different levels of agreement with Roger Waters' particular views, all the way from largely agreeing with most of his views, like I do, to being just a little bit to one side of, agreeing with him, 50-50 for the positive, and then being, a little bit to the negative, agreeing with him like maybe less than 50-50. So even though each of us friends all had a different starting viewpoint, it was pretty well agreed that we all respected that Roger Waters would use his platform to talk about many things that he considers to be just crucially important in this day and age. And I respect that. He was taking a bit of a risk. And, as we friends were discussing these shows, like on the drive home and in subsequent days after, one person remarked that, how could Roger Waters be so critical of capitalism when he's so rich? And, I've thought about that point, and my my ultimate takeaway is I would rather rich people do good things with their money than to do bad things or to do nothing. As you may remember from a past video of mine, I really didn't like Roger Waters' last tour Blu-ray, and I wasn't considering going to this tour. But an organization called VetTix sent me to 2 shows for free. I just paid a handling fee. If you are a U.S. veteran and you haven't signed up for VetTix, I encourage you to do so. They, in the last few months, have sent me to Elton John, Roger Waters, and The Who, and Anthrax. They offer sporting events and all kinds of different events. And so you could end up going to something that you really appreciate for almost, $0. And then you can always support the venue by grabbing a drink, support the artist by grabbing a t-shirt if you choose to. So being offered essentially free tickets and, me being a giant Pink Floyd fan, and I've only seen the David Gilmour-led version of the group on the Division Bell tour. I wanted to have the chance to see Roger Waters perform some of his own solo stuff and some Pink Floyd classics as well. I was overjoyed by his choice of song from his album Amused to Death and from Pink Floyd's album The Final Cut. Go check out the set list for his tour if you want to see the choices that he made. What Roger Waters is doing with his current tour really strikes me as coming from someone who just really has no interest in withholding his true opinions about issues that he feels are drastically important. And while he is arguably independently wealthy and, in a sense, maybe it doesn't feel like he's taking quite the risk that some of us would be if our livelihood were put in jeopardy or so forth, he is risking lowering concert attendance. He is risking his reputation, his legacy. And if powerful interests see him as a threat, perhaps he's risking even more than that. I would normally be very annoyed if a musical artist talked very much about politics at their show, but I really feel that the world needs to hear the messages that he is delivering. And so I really am happy that he's doing it. And I'm happy to also join in and try to support him. So I was at these shows, and while my friends and I were grabbing drinks, I heard someone call over to my left, "Make Roger proud." And I thought that was like kind of a interesting and strange remark. So I walked over to investigate, and it happened to be people manning a booth for AssangeDefense.org, an organization that is doing what they can to make sure that Julian Assange has adequate defense in the hope of seeing him freed. So I went up and talked to them. They were very informative. They were very nice. I agreed by the end of my time with them that I would sign up for notifications from the organization. And I did get some, and I read some of what they had to say, and since then have been doing more and more to try to support their effort. Roger Waters encouraged them to attend the shows at his tour and is also very, very deeply involved with the effort to free Assange. He mentioned the need to free Assange during his show, and he has done so in speeches and interviews, and I will do what I can to try to provide a link below so that you can research more about Roger Waters' involvement with the movement to free Assange. Now, musically, the show was extremely powerful. He is backed by just world-class musicians. He has chosen some songs that he really hasn't played in a long time. He had some surprising choices. He had some very typical choices. And like I said, part of the show is presented in immersive audio. An example would be when a helicopter flies directly over your head and pans one way and the other. And then there are also occasional guitar effects like echoes and vocal effects, again like echoes, that emanate out somewhere around you and above you and near you. So I don't know if they set up their own immersive speaker array to accomplish that, or maybe we're using the speaker array provided by the venue, but it was very cool effect, and it didn't distract from the show musically at all. It was just an enhancement. Like I said, his band is great. Song selection was very pleasant to me, and the way that he has chosen to detune some songs to sing the original vocal an octave down, just with his aged voice, I really feel like he made great decisions to really play to his strengths, as it were. I truly hope that he releases a Blu-ray for this tour, and like his last couple of Blu-rays, that it is immersive with at least an Atmos track. I would be delighted to continue to support this tour and Waters' work at this time. So like I said, this was a very thought-provoking show, and one thing that's really stuck with me ever since I read it back in late September, a friend posted his impression of the show, one of the friends who went with me to the Sacramento show. I asked his permission to read his post, and I'm going to do so now. The Roger Waters show not only starts with a rearrangement of the classic Pink Floyd song Comfortably Numb, and Roger Waters has just released the video clip of that rearrangement that begins the evening of music, and I'm going to link that for you below. But directly before that video plays, he projects up on a screen a warning that the show is going to be very political, and that if anybody came to just hear classic Pink Floyd and doesn't care for his political views, that they might find something better to do with their time. So I'm going to display pictures of that here, which my friend Casey did to introduce his Facebook post. And now I'm going to read his post. And that is the way the show begins. I don't agree with Roger on every view that he holds, but at his core, he believes in human rights, fair and equal treatment for everyone, and accountability for those that abuse their power, particularly in government. He's equal opportunity in that regard and expresses his contempt for anyone who crosses that line, even if the perpetrator turns out to be us rather than them. This is a noble cause. That is the unifying message behind this tour. Are Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange heroes or villains in your eyes? Are they villains for exposing state secrets, or heroes for publicizing atrocities that the government committed and tried to cover up? Is a drone strike that kills extremists still acceptable if it kills an innocent civilian? What if it kills 6? What about a dozen? 100? Where do you draw the line? Can you support law enforcement but still hold them to an expectation of equal treatment of all races and ethnic groups? Do you have the personal courage to stand up to authoritarianism? Or will you stand silent for fear of what will happen to you if you raise your voice in opposition? One of the most compelling moments of the concert for me was the opening of the second set of the show, a combined performance of In the Flesh and Run Like Hell, in which Waters plays his generic authoritarian character called Hammer, and gives the audience a taste of what it would be like to attend a fascist rally. Waters has been accused of glorifying authoritarianism by playing this character in the past, but when you see it live, his intent is clear. Nationalism and fascism are absolutely terrifying and to be avoided at all costs. I'll include a snippet of that part of the show in my feed, but what the video doesn't convey is the sheer volume and power of the chanting and political messaging. The scariest part of it is seeing how easily a large group of people could be swayed to nefarious causes by the addictive nature of authority and a common cause, no matter how questionable that cause may be. I found my heart racing and sweat beading on my brow when it was over. But was that excitement a product of fear of the mob, or the realization that it would be all too easy to be swept up in that kind of brutal groupthink? It was chilling to me that I even had to question which it was. The Waters show was thought-provoking, beautiful, and disturbing in equal measure. Should they plan a second leg of this tour, I'll see it again. Everyone should see it. It might change the way you view a few things that you've taken for granted. So thank you for writing that, Casey. It struck me powerfully at the time, and it has never been far from my thoughts, and it is part of my motivation to do this video. I intended to shoot a reaction video to the concert quite some time ago, but life kind of intervened and my time got taken with other things. Why have I chosen to do so now? Because of the dire circumstance that Julian Assange is in. He's being punished for publishing journalism, and even if he is set free immediately, the punishment he has endured has arguably damaged his life drastically. He's lost years of freedom, and his health has been severely impacted by his incarceration. Again, please support this video with a like, subscribe, notification bell, comment, share the video, all that good stuff. Help spread the message about the need to free Julian Assange. To the extent you wish to, please support Roger Waters as he is allying with Assange Defense. Check out assangedefense.org. I will provide every link I can think of that might be helpful below. Enjoy the new Comfortably Numb rearrangement video. And until next time, may you all live life in freedom and in surround.